Shabbat Shalom from Temple Concord. This week in our Torah portion, we're still in the middle of the Joseph saga, which we started reading a couple of weeks ago, and it was part of the Torah reading during Hanukkah last week. This week, Joseph and his brothers finally recognize who each other is, and Joseph reveals himself. And most of the time, the tradition focuses on Joseph not being able to control himself and how he's going to reveal himself to his brothers. But the reality is, I think, the important part is Joseph reconciling with his own soul. It's Joseph coming out himself to himself that's the big issue. Joseph has every reason and every right to stay hidden, to not tell his brothers who he is. And yet something in Joseph says, I have to be me. I have to be honest with myself. I have to tell people who I really am. And in that moment of decision and that moment of revelation, Joseph becomes his best self. Joseph becomes his most honest self, his truest self. And when Joseph recognizes that he is identifying himself to his brothers, he also recognizes he's identifying himself to himself. No longer will he be this hidden Israelite in Egypt. He will now be Joseph the Jew. I think too easily most of us live in the world that Joseph used to be in, the world of hiding ourselves off from the rest of everybody else. We try to not divulge too much because we don't want to get hurt. But Joseph teaches us something really important. We have to be willing to identify ourselves and to be willing to accept who we are and trust that others will accept us too. Now, it's not always easy and it doesn't always work out as we wish it would. But Joseph shows us that if we have courage and if we're willing to reach out, that good things can come. And so the big reveal for Joseph is as much to his brothers as it is to himself. It is, look at me, I'm comfortable in my own skin enough to say this, and to say it not just to my brothers, but to the rest of Egypt too. I am who I am, he says. And in that moment, Joseph recognizes his own holiness just a little bit more. I hope you'll join us for Shabbat services Friday evening. Services are at 6 o'clock. Saturday morning services are at 11, preceded, of course, by text study and Torah study. And while we hope you don't require anybody to come out at services, we're obviously welcome to have you be your whole self and your true self. We want you to be fully open and welcoming, as we hope we are to all of you. Next week, things are a little quieter. It's winter vacation, and I hope you'll have time to celebrate with your family and to enjoy each other's company. But during this Shabbat, I hope you'll spend time thinking about what does it mean to be your truest self and to be fully open about who you are. Joseph gives us a great model. Let's embrace it. Shabbat Shalom. Look forward to seeing you at the temple.